class. Today's topic will be the active and passive voice. My name is Christian Smith, and I'll be your instructor for this lesson. So, the question in our mind may be, what are voices? And no, I don't mean the voices in our head. In actuality, I mean voices when it concerns grammar, and in particular, the subject of a sentence. The voices within a sentence simply refers to whether the subject of a sentence acts or is acted upon. Since the question of what are voices has been answered, let's then move on to the types of voices, and there are two. The first is the active voice, and is symbolized by an energetic goat who is accomplishing almost unimaginable feats of parkour. And then there's the passive voice, which is on the other side of the spectrum, and is symbolized by a pug simply enjoying its best life in its homemade jacuzzi with its fedora and shades on. So, what is the active voice? The animated gif of the goat doing parkour probably didn't do much to shed light on what exactly is the active voice. The active voice is when the subject of a sentence does an action instead of being acted upon. This is what is considered the normal voice to be used in writing. You all probably use the active voice subconsciously or subconsciously in your writing, and here are some of my examples to help you better identify it when you come across it. The first sentence is, Jordan Peele makes incredibly suspenseful movies. The subject in the sentence is Jordan Peele, and they do the action, they make incredibly suspenseful movies. The second sentence is, COVID-19 created a global pandemic. The subject in the sentence is COVID-19, and it created a global pandemic. The third sentence is, my friend coined the nickname Smithacles for me in first form. The subject in the sentence is my friend, and they do the action, they coined the nickname. And the last sentence is, cartoon does incredible tattoos for celebrities. Following the same trend as the first three sentences, the subject in this sentence is cartoon, and the action they do incredible tattoos for celebrities. Since we have covered what the active voice is, we are now obligated to move on to the passive voice. The passive voice is when the subject of a sentence is acted upon. In other words, the object of an action in a normal sentence becomes the subject. Now here are some of my examples to better help you in identifying the passive voice. The first sentence is, the hospital is where I am going. In a normal active voice sentence, this sentence would simply be, I am going to the hospital. However, in this instance, the hospital now becomes the subject and I becomes the object. The second sentence is, new games were showcased by PlayStation. In the active voice, this sentence would be, PlayStation showcased new games. Now, in this sentence, the subject now becomes new games and the object is PlayStation. The last sentence is a famous phrase, $1 in a dream is what I have. Now, in active voice, this sentence is, I have $1 in a dream. However, in the passive voice, it becomes $1 and a dream is what I have because the subject becomes $1 in a dream and the object becomes I. Now you may be thinking that the passive voice sounds a bit clunky and To some degree, it is. However, it is much used, especially in the movie industry. And a famous example is none other than Yoda from the Star Wars series, who, as this picture states, only in passive voice do I speak. Cue boss music. The impersonal passive voice. Interestingly, the impersonal passive voice is quite normal, especially in the corporate world. It helps to create a degree of formality and a preferable impersonal stance in the realm of bureaucracy. Some common examples of this form of passive voice include: one belief is that PlayStation lost billions in the console war. There is an expectation that the PS5 will dominate just like its predecessor. It was confirmed that the failure rate for the Xbox 360 was over 54%. And lastly, it was decided that Microsoft would spend $1.15 billion to solve the catastrophic issue. So, although you may think that it sounds odd and you may choose to divert from using the passive voice, it is actually widely accepted by a large portion of societies worldwide. Before we reach an end of the session, we must address some common myths about the passive voice. The first myth is the passive voice is grammatically incorrect and that one should stay away from utilizing it within their writing as it degrades the effectiveness of their writing. This is false, as if you could recall from the impersonal passive voice slide, the corporate level widely accepts the passive voice, and moreover, the passive voice is a unique style of writing, and if done correctly, it can actually add a purposeful sense of suspense into one's writing. If to be is spotted in a sentence, then it is automatically in the passive voice. Now bear in mind, the forms of to be include be, is, are, was, were, being, and been. However, one should not automatically assume that sentences that include these forms are within the passive voice. It is a misconception, and one that sets you up for failure at that. And the last myth is, if a sentence contains the first person perspective, then it's in the active voice. And this is also false, because there are sentences that have the first person perspective and are still within the realm of the passive voice. Two examples include, and the first being, I was surrounded by man-eating piranhas. In the active voice, the same sentence would be, man-eating piranhas surrounded me. And the second example is, I was hit by the dodgeball. In the active voice, the same sentence would be, the dodgeball hit me. So, bear in mind, these myths are common, but they need to be mended for one to improve the overall effectiveness and output of their writing. So, if you all have made it this far, then thank you all for tuning into my podcast. And here's a gift which illustrates my sentiment to you all.